And I'm Martin.
And today we have this really lovely Land Rover Defender 110, and we're going to do rear brakes on it today, rear brake pads. And we're going to show you the whole scenario as we go along. These are the items which are called the brake pads. I'm sure most of you guys out there are familiar with all this. So those are the ones that we're going to be fitting. We've obviously loosened the wheel nuts off first before we put the vehicle on the lift. We're just going to literally take the last wheel nut off, and then
Sorry for my crazy filming. It's going all over the place.
right, okay. These wheels are rather heavy. So I'll put top on that either. Right, okay. So, I've got a torch and we can have a little look in here. As you can see, there are the brake pads, and there's very little. If I just turn that wheel, you can see that disc moving. It's not very far off touching the back of the brake pad. We'll just quickly show you the thickness of the new brake pads, which are like so. They're approximately about 10 thou thick, and there's probably only what, 2 to 3 thou at best on there, I would have thought. Right, so the next procedure is to remove these small split pins. We've already bent the tab over on there, and once you've done that, then it allows you to take the split pin out like so. Put that in a safe place so you don't lose it over there. Those pins are in good condition so they can go back. Sometimes you have to use it. The next procedure is just to remove that, but keep your finger on there because there's a spring in the center of there that could come out. So we remove that spring, remove that pin, and that spring, then the tension comes off there and that comes out there. So again, just check that and look at that. It looks as though we need to straighten that up a little bit before that goes back in. That needs to go in a safe place over there. So, got one pin out. So we'll proceed to take the other pin out the same way, and then we'll show you taking the disc pads out of the caliper. Right, well, we've removed this pin and this spring. The purpose of this spring is to keep pressure on these two brake pads to keep them apart from the disc so you don't get any brake bind. So that's the idea there. Now, what we're going to show next is how to remove the disc pads from the caliper. So firstly, we're going to put the bar in there, and then we're going to just ease that apart, and you saw those pads move quite easily. So that's made a bit of clearance now. That's pushed the pistons back into the caliper. Now we go from behind, and we just very gently push the pad out like that, and that's one pad out. Now on these brake pads they have a shim, and the idea behind this shim is to stop any brake squeal. It just dampens the effect and resonation of brake squeal. So we'll go ahead
Where's
and
the
remove
old pad then?
the old pad's there, and you can see, look, you've barely got what, 3mm, but that other brake pad, if it will come out, I don't think it will do straight away. It might do. Hang on. No, we'll get that out. We'll show you that in a minute when we've got that out. Right, okay, well, we're going to clean up this area where the disc pad has to go. We're not going to depress the pistons yet because we don't want to encourage dirt to go into the caliper seal. So we're going to use a file, and we're going to make sure that all the rust, corrosion and dirt is off the area where the actual pads sit into the caliper, so that the pads can then move freely. And you can see there's quite a bit of crud and general stuff that needs to come out there. So anyway, we're going to carry on and clean this bit. We're also going to show you that descaling of the actual disc as well. You've got quite a lot of general rubbish on there. If we put that down tight on there, it's rusting. You can see it starting to come off. You need to get all of that off as well. There, and also on this face here. That allows the disc pad to settle back into the disc properly. So we'll go ahead and we'll clean everything up, and then we'll show you what it looks like when it's all nice and clean. Right, okay, well, we're going to clean up this area where the disc pad has to go. We're not going to depress the pistons yet because we don't want to encourage dirt to go into the caliper seal. So we're going to use a file, and we're going to make sure that all the rust, corrosion and dirt is off the area where the actual pads sit into the caliper, so that the pads can then move freely. And you can see there's quite a bit of crud and general stuff that needs to come out there. So anyway, we're going to carry on and clean this bit. We're also going to show you that the descaling of the actual disc as well. You've got quite a lot of general rubbish on there. If we put that down tight on there, it's rusting. You can see it starting to come off. You need to get all of that off as well. There, and also on this face here. That allows the disc pad to settle back into the disc properly. Okay, so we're now at the stage where we need to press the pistons back. So that will enable us to fit the new brake pads. So as you can see, these pads are very thin compared to the new brake pads that are going in. So we need to press those pistons back into there. So to do this, just need to clean one of the old pads up, because we've got all that nice and clean in there. So just wipe all the debris and rubbish off there. Just place it back in. Just like that, it doesn't have to go fully in. And then that will stop that piston from coming out when we compress this piston, because like that. And we're just literally going to very, very carefully ease that piston back. So it goes right back into where it should be. Might need just a little bit more. Fully back. We're just going to test the new pad to make sure it goes in.
There's the shim.
We don't need to fit that at this stage, because for some reason that's not quite going back as it should do. Let's just see if I've got that leverage right. That's it. Okay, that's gone back as far as it will go. Yeah, see that pad just fits back in there quite easily. It should just go in there with the minimum amount of force, bearing in mind that these discs are a little bit worn, so there is a little bit of a lip on there, but you can see that that pad's quite happy to drop in. So anyway, we'll go ahead and we'll push the other piston back, do the same process, and we'll show the new shims on there cleaned up and what we do from there. Okay, so as you can see, we've installed the new disc pad and the shim. This is one of those that's in behind there, and we've just started those pins in there, so it makes life a lot easier. We're going to put this disc pad in and the shim in. We're not going to put the springs in at this stage. Obviously we're fitting everything that we've taken apart as it was, and we're just making sure that everything lines up before we do the fiddly bit with the springs. So we'll just push those pins through, make sure they line up okay. Can be a little bit difficult at times, but it's always best to sort of do this. Maybe sometimes you need a very slight gentle tap just to reposition, and then the pin will go through. So that's absolutely fine. You should be able to turn that. Just give it a little tap just to settle that. You should then just move that in and out basically with your fingers, like so. So we know that's lined up. Okay, we're going to do the same with the top one. This might be a little bit more tricky. We've got a brake pipe in the way, but we're not forcing anything. We're only using the hammer as a little bit of tapping. Just move that pad out a little bit. It's got stuck in there a bit too low. Right. I just need to find my a while ago. Can't see it. What? I'm looking for my little tiny pie bar. Sometimes the shims just drop down in behind here. I just need moving back up. Sometimes you can get them like so. As I said, it can be a little bit tricky. Right, we've got that in. Just need to get that shim up into position. Behind here. Oh yeah, I can see the shimming behind here. Just move that up a bit more. The pad and the shim. So you can see it's a little bit tricky. That's why it's always best to try and do it together. Quite wanting to do what I want it to do. There we go, let's grab that shim, try it this way. There we are, I think that's fine. Look, tap back in there, that's gone through. So that's all aligned up. That's fine, that goes in and out.
So we're going to take it apart and put the springs in?
Yeah, we'll, yeah, we can see that there's no problems there, everything's free. So now we're going to very gently slide those pins out and see. What I would suggest at this stage is to pump the brake pedal to allow the pistons to come out to hold the brake pads in that position, because you can see that piston's in a little bit and that pad can move around. So when we take that top pin out, it could drop back into that misalignment position. So we'll go ahead and pump the brake pedal, get the pads out to the disc, and then everything should stay in a line while we fit those little fiddly springs. Okay, so we pumped the brake pedal out. That's made the pistons come out, and it's held the pads and the shims tight against there so nothing can flop around. We've already fitted the lower spring, and we're just going to show you the fitting of the top spring. Hopefully it's not going to be too fiddly, so we'll just make sure that we get the spring to start on the pin. Make sure it starts to go up inside the spring. Settle the spring into position and just turn it so it doesn't catch on any of the coils until it becomes realigned. And there we go. And again, that pin is still nice and free, and that pin is as well. So everything there, and also the wheel turns nice and freely, so there's nothing dragging at all. So that assembly has gone together well. Now we're going to just wind these around so we can see those split pin holes. We'll probably do it with your fingers nearly, they're that good. That was a little bit tighter. Yeah, we can just see the split pin holes now. And then we're going to put the split pins in and we'll show you this, the more split pinned up. As you can see, we put the lower split pin in. Now the reason we put it in from the top is of gravity. So now if that was to break or something happened there, that pin could still stay in position. So it's an old school rule really, you do that. And this is how we actually fitted the pin. We just got a screwdriver like that, gently pressed it. You can in fact do this with your thumb, bend it right round, and then just get rid of that sharp bit out. Just tap it down lightly with a pair of pliers. Tap that in a little bit more, that lower one. And that's it. That's basically the two pins refitted. Now these pins were these split pins were in very, very good condition. And you might say, well, why don't you put new ones in? Well, we didn't actually have them with the brake pad kit. Sometimes you do get them, sometimes you don't. It's like the springs. Sometimes you do get them, sometimes you don't. And if you notice, one of the coils on the spring was slightly damaged, but we managed to repair that satisfactory. So everything here is fine. We're quite happy with it. We have pumped the brake and the wheel turns nicely, so there's no kind of possibility of brake drag or anything like that. And you can see clearly that everything has been assembled correctly. Well, that just about concludes our tutorial on the brakes. So that's all I've got to say is it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye for me. Sorry about the dodgy videoing right at the beginning. Till next time.